So when it comes to solving quadratic inequalities, or any inequality for that matter, we can report our answers in two different notations. We're used to doing inequality notation. What we're going to learn today is about interval notation. Okay, so we're used to seeing inequalities where we see something like x is less than or equal to a number, or x is greater than a number, and so on and so forth. Okay, we're used to seeing the inequality symbols with numbers. All right, and we do the equal to when we have closed circles, and we do the unequal to when we have open circles. Interval notation looks like a coordinate point. When we have closed circles, we do closed brackets, which look like square brackets, kind of like matrices. And when we have open circles, we do open brackets, which are parentheses. All right, so inside we would have an interval. So it could be something like 2 to 7 or 3 to 5. Okay, so those are samples of what interval notation looks like. All right, so we're going to take a look at a few different examples with number lines to see how do we write the inequality solution and then how do we convert that into intervals. All right, so let's take a look. We're going to express each solution set, graph below, using both inequality and interval notation. Okay, so taking a look at the first one, the first thing I notice is I have closed circles here. So this is an equal to. All right, and there's only one section of the number line that works, so this is an and inequality. Okay, so in the past we would write this as x is between -4 and 2. We could also write x is greater than or equal to -4 and x is less than or equal to 2. Interval notation says go ahead and write it with square brackets because there's an equal to. And then we say that it goes from -4 up until 2. So this alternative notation is telling us the same information, that x is between -4 and 2, and the square brackets mean that the -4 and the 2 are included in my answer because I had closed circles. Okay. Let's take a look at the one next to it with 0 and 6. If I wanted to write this with inequality notation, I would say x is less than or equal to 0, or x is greater than or equal to 6. Now, there are two separate sections here, so I'm going to write two separate intervals, okay? Now, this arrow is pointing to the left, and we've got to figure out, well, what's the number the furthest to the left on a number line? When you're talking about that, you're talking about negative infinity. Because you keep going forever and ever, you'll never actually get to the number furthest to the left because there's always another one further to the left beyond that. And when you're looking at the right side, that's going up to positive infinity, okay? Now, you can never actually equal an infinity, so infinities always have parentheses, even if you see closed circles. So this first section over here goes from negative infinity to 0. So it goes from negative infinity and it ends at 0. Now I can equal 0, but I can never equal infinity. So this one has a mix of an open bracket and a closed bracket, a parenthesis and a square bracket. Now we put a funny symbol, looks like a capital U without a line. It's called a union symbol whenever we have more than one interval. Now the second interval starts here at 6 and goes to infinity. So I'm going to say it starts at 6 and goes up to positive infinity. Now I can never equal an infinity, so that's a parenthesis, but I can equal to 6, so it's a bracket. Okay, so that's how I would do the second one. Alrighty, for the third one, this is an or inequality because they're facing in opposite directions. And I have open circles now instead of closed circles. So now everything would be parentheses. There's no more square brackets. All right. For inequalities, I would have x is less than -5 or x is greater than 7. From an inequality standpoint, interval standpoint, this is negative infinity and positive infinity. So I go from negative infinity up until negative 5. I cannot equal either one. And then I union that with, I start at 7 and go to infinity. Okay, and if you're having trouble drawing infinities, you can literally just take your paper, put it sideways and draw number 8. Or you could just draw 2 circles connected to each other. All right, so that's the third one. And now for this final one, this is back to being an and inequality because there's only one segment on the number line that was covered. And it goes from negative 1 to 3. And there's no equal to because these are open circles. That means that I have a single interval starting at negative 1 and ending at 3. With parentheses because there's no equal to. All right. So that's how you write interval notation from a number line.